Hello and welcome to my first lecture in week 9. This lecture is on American Romanticism. Before I begin talking about American Romanticism, let me talk a little bit about the Romantic movement as it is best known in Europe and in England. The Romantic movement was a reaction against the rationalist, scientific spirit of the Age of Enlightenment. Authors such as Samuel Taylor Coleridge, William Wordsworth, these are the names that you might have encountered in British literature and people that you probably read in high school literature. Rime of the Ancient Mariner from Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Tintern Abbey from William Wordsworth, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. These are prominent works of European Romanticism, and it was a reaction against rationalism, a reaction against this idea that everything could be explained rationalistically, scientifically. It placed a great importance on authentic individual experience. It placed a great importance on emotion and emotional states of being. It placed an emphasis on extreme emotional states such as terror and awe. And that's why we saw things like the invention of the horror novel in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It brought to the fore a lot of forgotten art, fables, folk stories, folk tales. The Brothers Grimm studied folk stories and folk tales and brought those out of the German forests. The writings of Sir Walter Scott brought the tales of chivalry back to the fore. And a lot of these stories became sort of elevated and rediscovered and reinterpreted in a search for their authentic meanings and an attempt to rediscover what they really meant to us sort of deep down in who we are as human beings. So it was an attempt to get back to sort of an authentic existence, to look beyond maybe what science could explain about human experience and human life. American Romanticism is closely akin to European Romanticism, but it has some distinctive characteristics that I like to break down into specific dualities. Now, if you'll take a look at the lecture slides that I provided in the content module, we'll take a look at those dualities and I'll explain those in a little bit more detail. First is the love of nature versus nature's alien. The living garment of God is one way that Ralph Waldo Emerson describes nature. Later we'll read Emerson. We'll also see in some of the fiction that we're going to read with Poe and with Hawthorne that nature can be seen as alien, as frightening, as a matter of fact. We see an idealization of rural life versus a loss of place in the urban modern world. We see a love of beauty versus an enthusiasm for the wild, irregular, the grotesque in nature and in art. We see sympathy and sentimentality versus a focus on emotional psychology. That's very distinct in works like Follow the House of Usher, for instance. We see an interest in ancient mythology, in folk tales, in the supernatural. But we also see the importance of originality and the new. These are authors that are always striving to create something brand new. But they're also authors that are interested in the past, interested in knowing more and being versed in the classics as well. The American Romantics put the I first. The individual is central to their art. Individuality and individual perception is their main focus. But they are existing in a society where more and more the I is made to conform, and this is very much a theme that runs through and through and through American Romanticism. The authentic expression of feelings and attitudes is a major concern of American Romantics, but the inability and frustration over being able to adequately express those feelings is also a major concern, and we'll see that coming to the fore again and again, especially in a story like Melville's Bartleby the Scrivener. Important figures in American Romanticism, and most of these we will be reading at least some from, include, in the area of short fiction, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Herman Melville, and Edgar Allan Poe. Those are the big three, they say. In poetry, of course, Poe, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Oliver Wendell Holmes, Walt Whitman, and Emily Dickinson, who we will be spending some time with. In Essays and Criticism, Emerson, Margaret Fuller, who I will try to include just a little bit of, even though she's not on our reading list, and Edgar Allan Poe. And in the novel, Herman Melville, Moby Dick, of course, is considered to be the great American novel, and Nathaniel Hawthorne with The Scarlet Letter.